on a Prayer Flower Farm live Q&A. I'm glad to be here with y'all. I'm gonna try and wait a minute as we get people on. If you have just stumbled across this live, my name is Jessie and I'm a flower farmer here in Zone 8B, Ruston, Louisiana, and I just completed my second year of growing flowers and selling at my local farmers market. So in today's live, we are doing Q&A. I'm answering questions to the best of my ability. I am by no way an expert, guys. I'm just telling you from what my experience is and hoping to help you through what I've learned today. Also, side note, merch. I've had people ask about the mug and the shirt, Former Plant Killer. All of that is available for purchase in a link below and on my YouTube channel under shop. You can go and buy from there. But I'm glad to be here this Sunday afternoon. We didn't do a live last week, so I'm glad to reconnect with all of you this week. And I hope you are all doing great. Let me see if my comments are up. I don't know why they don't just automatically go up. There we go, live chat. So waiting to see if any of those come up. Who all is tuning in today? If y'all hear dog noises, it's just Costly. She's kind of groaning over there. Yeah, I'm talking about you. All right, so we are doing Q&A today. Thank you to everyone. I'll move this back a little bit. Thank you everyone who wrote in a question. Hey Mom, thanks for joining the live. I ended up having to put all the questions on a piece of paper. Well, pieces of paper. I made it really large so I could read it easily. So that way I can make sure I get to everybody's questions. And if there's any questions left after the Q&A that we go through the sheet, I'll be more than happy to answer them in the chat as well. So the first question that got asked on the community post that I made earlier this week about ask me a question, I'll be happy to answer it, was from my husband, Casey. He said, what was my biggest takeaway from the past year? And I really had to think on that. What is my biggest takeaway from completing year 2? And I'd have to say it's just because you can doesn't necessarily mean that you should. Hey Elizabeth, glad that you could join us here today. That's been my biggest takeaway this year is just because I can do something and I can maybe grow something doesn't mean I need to. I definitely bit off way more than I could chew this year. I had so much going on and so many different things. It was impossible to keep up with it all. So I'm going to be scaling it back and trying to only do what I think I can actually handle versus trying to keep up with everybody else. So that's been my biggest takeaway this year is don't take more than what you can handle, especially when you're working a full-time job, family, and everything else. I'm watching Costly. She's kind of getting close to the phone stand. Hey, Renee. I'm glad to have you on the chat. I have to lay right next to the phone stand, huh? I wish I could turn y'all to her. Hey, Sheila from the UK. Glad to have you here. All right, so then Perla, hey, from New Jersey. I'm glad to have you here as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. So the next question that I got asked was from Amy Williams. What's my best advice for someone wanting to get into flower farming? That's easy. Start just maybe 3 different flowers, and a filler. I would definitely start with cosmos, sunflowers, zinnias, and then choose 2 other flowers if you want to, and then I would choose an easy filler like basil. That's what I would do my first year, and I would start small. See if there's a market. Are flowers already selling at your local market? How are you going to sell these? Do research. Any restrictions in your state? Louisiana is the only state that requires a retail florist license for us to sell flowers that are arranged, but other states may have other regulations or permits you may need in order to grow flowers and sell them from your house to customers. So do your research. And then I would just go through your first year, and if you still are interested in doing flower farming and this is something you want to do, then I would invest in a class. One day I'm going to be taking a class by Lisa Mason Ziegler. That is the class, and her classes are what I would love to actually take when I finally am able to take a class. So that would be my best advice, is start small, research what's going on in your area. Hi, Yuri. Glad to have you. Yes, you can ask a question there. I'll try to get back to it once I get done with all the questions that are on my sheet. I'll be more than happy to answer it. And once again, guys, I'm no expert. I am just someone telling you what I've experienced and learned in the past 2 years doing this. But definitely research, start small, maybe take a class later on as you go and you get more experience and decide this is something you really want to do, because flower farming is a lot of work. It is so much work. And before you just dive in and spend all that money, see if it's something that you realistically think that you want to do and can handle. Next question is from Julie Ann. I think it's what this says. I have a typo on my paper, but it's from Julie. She says, living in the South, have you ever dealt with Alternia or other types of fungus issues? And what was my solution? So I actually had to go and Google search what Alternia or Alternaria, I'm terrible with words, is. I wasn't sure what that is. But upon Googling, I figured out it's basically what we call black spot here, which is when you start getting these horrible black or rust color spots on the leaves. We encounter a lot here, especially on my zinnias and sunflowers. It's airborne, and it can also be spread by the dreaded leaf hoppers. It's horrible. And yes, we get quite a bit of it here, especially as we go later in the season, and it's because we're hot and we're humid. So what do I do for it? Not much, actually. You can spray a copper fungicide, has a preventative, so you would have to do that on a weekly basis. Hey, growing on Vancouver Island, glad to have you here. Yeah, black spot is terrible for the roses. Hey, Nicole's Garden, glad you are here. You're right on time, Nicole. Don't worry, you're right on time. But you can use a copper fungicide. You have to spray that weekly or so to keep that at bay. And then you can also, if it becomes infected, your plant does, you can remove the leaves that are infected and burn them somewhere away from your farm. Personally, I don't really deal with black spot until near the end of the season, which by that point the plants need to be, they're done anyway, they're tired, they can't fight. So I don't do anything. I did buy the copper fungicide with good intention, thinking I would spray weekly. I was just too exhausted to keep up with it. And I've decided, you know, by that point, I try to buy disease-resistant variety of flowers, and then just try your best to. You can also strip the leaves between the plants to help incorporate airflow through there to help them breathe. Hey, Pixie Flower Farm, glad to have you here. So those are some things you can do to help with black spot. Unfortunately, I kind of feel like in my area, it's just going to happen. It's inevitable. Maybe if I kept up spraying copper fungicide, I worry with the impact that has on my good bugs that I have battling my bad bugs. And if my phone just shook, it's because Costly has her leg right by the stand. She's just laid out right here. Let me see if I can show you. There she is. Say hi, Costly. She had to choose the one spot in the house where she could be as close as she could to me. Yes. I'm talking about you. But that's all you can do is spray. But I was worried about the good bugs and the effects spraying things like that would have on good bugs. At this point, I've learned by bringing in more ladybugs and lace-wing insects, it's really, really helped with my disease problem and my leaf hopper problem. Bringing in those good bugs to take care of the bad bugs really helped me this year. So I think I'm going to continue to do that and continue to buy ladybugs or insect eggs to put out there to help keep the population in the ecosystem okay. There is a chance of having too many good bugs where it destroys the ecosystem because there's too many good bugs, so they start leaving and then you get more bad bugs. But so far I haven't encountered that yet. Though I did have a night where I had all these ladybugs in my house, which we'll get to that in just a second. All right, let me flip it over to the next questions. So Nicole's garden, this was her question. I'd love to hear you talk about scale, growing a realistic amount that you can handle while working a full-time job. Well, that's a big one right there. So I'm not sure how qualified I am to answer this, Nicole, but I'm still figuring this out myself. What I can say is start small. Realistically, what you think you can sell at your market, be that $400 worth of flowers or $600 worth of flowers, and go from there. Last year, I didn't have nearly as many flowers, and I was selling out at every single market. So instead of just doubling or doing a little bit more than I did last year, I tripled or quadrupled the amount of flowers from last year, and that meant I was sending flowers to the nursing home, as I didn't have enough customers to buy my flowers. There were two things. One thing was I stopped selling from home as much. So my customers were just the farmer's market. And two, the farmer's market tends to die down as we get into the summer. Less customers to buy from me, more flowers for the nursing home, which made the nursing home happy and is a good thing to do, but for me financially, it just wasn't a smart decision. So this year, y'all have heard me, I'm scaling back. So it kind of just depends on the last live. Can you grow it and can you sell it? Just because you can grow it doesn't mean that you can sell it. And you've got to make sure that if you're willing to grow all these flowers, that you're ready to take the avenues that you need to sell them where they need to go. I had in my head this year that I was going to be going to florist. I thought maybe I would just not do home deliveries. I would just do florist and farmer's market. And y'all, the florist, I only went to a few, and one of them kind of asked for prices and then never contacted me again. And then I started kind of second guessing the quality of my flowers as well, which made me not want to go knock on florist doors as much because I was scared that they would want me to have a certain amount of flowers and not being able to guarantee that amount of flowers or the quality of flowers constantly. I really want to be at a place where I know what's growing when, how much I'm growing, and be more confident in my ability to produce these flowers consistently for a florist. So this year, scaling back, focusing mainly on the farmer's market, and realistically, what can I sell, how much can I sell, and what can I handle with this full-time job? Working a full-time job while you're doing this, you've got to realize how much time do you have when you get off work? And what's your energy level before work and after work? I know during the height of the season, I'm waking up at 5. I spend the first hour or two editing videos for YouTube. I drop my kids off at school, and then I spend the next hour harvesting flowers before I have to shower and go to work. When I got off work, I didn't really do anything in the afternoon except maybe harvest more flowers and try to spray. And you cannot go like that every single day. I'm forcing myself at this point to take Sundays off besides doing a live, to not go out there and try and sweat and do everything. I've got to have a day off. And with a job like that, you've just got to think about, okay, when do I have time and what's my energy level going to be? What can I realistically keep up with? Because you're not going to feel like weeding. You're not going to feel like having to harvest hundreds upon hundreds of zinnias and then having to go and spray once the sun goes down enough. For personally, I just don't want to be outside in the dark with a headlamp because all the bugs just like see the light and attack your face. So I hope that kind of helped answer your question, Nicole. I don't know if my comments should start showing up again or not. This thing is so crazy sometimes. Let's see. Yeah, it says they're supposed to be. Okay. The last thing I've got is Pixie Petals Flower Farm saying, hey, Jessie. That's weird. I thought I had more. All right, so let's move on to the question. So Grace Thomas, she said, how many more weeks of market would you have liked to set up for if I'd had the flowers to do so? And that's a great question. I actually had to look back on my Square software I use and back in my planner to see what was a market and what was custom orders I did. I would like to have done 16 to 20-ish markets every year. That is how often I would like to be at markets, pretty much every Saturday I can. So I counted realistically 16 markets a year would be great. How many did I actually attend this year? I did 12, which is way better than the year before. I did 12 markets, and that doesn't include any sales that I did besides the farmer's market. 12 full markets. I would have liked to have done 16. I feel like every market I miss is a missed opportunity to make more and to build that customer relationship. So I'm kind of bummed that I didn't make it to more, but at the same time, working a full-time job, you've got to find that balance of being able to work and have time for the farm while going to market. All right, so Colorado tulips. You had a lot of questions, Colorado tulips. So one of the first questions Colorado tulips asked was, what do I do given the number of bugs that must be visiting my flowers and when they're cut to avoid my house being overrun with bugs from the flowers coming inside? Well, some of you may have seen a short I posted, and it was in one of the videos, where I had a house full of ladybugs one night. So I don't do much with the bugs as far as bugs are concerned. I try to shake off the flowers before I bring them inside. I try to check them the best I can for insects, but some of those insects are down in the petals, especially with the double zinnias, where you can't see them. And there's always spiders. There's always spiders. Hate spiders. There's always spiders on my flowers. It doesn't matter. I try my best to avoid them, but they always come inside my house with me, and my husband's thankfully most of the time grabbing them and taking them back outside where they belong. So what do I do about bugs? I do my best to shake them off the flower, but some of them are still coming inside. And for the most part, they stay on the flowers. And if I see them at market coming kind of up from the petals, I'll grab them and, throw them away or throw them outside or whatever. But I have had, I think it was last year, I had a girl pick up a bouquet and there was an inchworm on the bouquet on the top of a flower. And her boyfriend said, well, they're farm fresh when? And I looked at her, I was like, bugs, inchworms, they are included free of charge. I don't spray pesticides. I try not to anyway. And that's part of it, is you're gonna have insects in the fridge. So if your flowers can of some of them bugs. I've seen a farmer where she actually dunks the flower head into water and then pulls it out. I don't have the patience for that, and I'm scared I would ruin the flower. What we do have done is we have red pest control. They come out and they spray around the house, the perimeter of the house, to keep any bugs coming, like crawling into my house. Anything that ends up in the house is something that I brought in by accident, which happens. It's going to happen, and it makes great YouTube footage, right? I don't know if my comments are working, because I'm not seeing anybody comment. Let's see. There we go. Hey! Sorry, guys. I don't know why, but sometimes the comments on the live doesn't always pop up, and it's driving me crazy because I'm sitting here talking and thinking that maybe y'all just, aren't interested, but y'all are commenting. I just can't see it. YouTube. All right, next. Colorado tulips, another question from you. You said, how do I research issues I encounter on the farm for advice, like how to get them to bloom or store longer? You know, Van England's recommends a shaded planting site and some water, while Wicked Tulips does too. Do I have a growing encyclopedia? What is my secret? So, I wish I could tell you I research a lot. I do not. I am very much reactive instead of proactive. I would love to tell you I'm all professional and try to prevent everything. Facebook. The Facebook farmer groups are really what helped me a lot. There's a warm climate growers Facebook group I'm a part of. Wealth of information there. And then the Facebook group just called Flower Farmers. Ton of information. Watch a lot of Lisa Mason Ziegler YouTube videos. Comments from y'all below. Sometimes I get really great advice from that as well from other farmers. I talk to the other lady who sells flowers sometimes at my farmer's market, and I go, how did you grow that? Things like that. And that helps me be able to do things like that. Guys, is everything working on your side? I don't know if this YouTube Live's working appropriately. I can't see the comments. So, there we go. Yeah, you do, Colorado tulips. You're going to stumble upon a lot of things. You're going to stumble upon a lot of things, and the important part is that you just, here, maybe if I move that, it'll stay and not disappear. The important part is that you keep gathering those nuggets of information, and you learn from experience as well. I'm trying to make the comments not disappear, guys. So anything I try to learn, or that I do learn rather, I try to record in this and keep it all in my book so I can look back and see. Like last year, the tulips were a complete disaster for the ones that I planted in November. The ones I planted in November were horrible, and then I planted some in January, so much better. And that's where I learned that, okay, planting them later for me is what's producing better tulips. And then I had someone comment that they plant theirs as late as February for the South. So that's letting me know, okay, maybe I can do that too. Maybe I can succession plant these tulips where I've got some going in January, mid-January, and February, and see how late can I push that and then recording it. So, no, I don't have an encyclopedia. I have a bunch of books. I will crack them open. Dr. Armoridge, I wish I could grab his book for you. That has helped a lot, knowing different plant varieties and such. So things like that have been very helpful. And then just connecting with your community. If you can find a grower group in your zone, so helpful. Learning from others is so great to find out through their experience and then through your own experience. What was the secret to my success with anemones this past season? Well, my secret was I had no clue what I was doing. I had watched the Florette fall mini course, which she's about to do again. So if you're interested and you haven't signed up, go to florette.com after you finish the live, and you can sign up for her newsletter and for her winter mini courses that she does, or sometimes she does a summer mini course as well, where she goes over how she plants things, harvests, and stores. So much information, so valuable. She is what helped me with them anemones this year and how to plant them. And I had some of them that were great. The purples, the rarity variety, Mistral plus rarity is what I grew last year. It was amazing. They did so well. Nice long stems for the most part. I think maybe if I did plant them in a shadier area, maybe they would have gotten a little bit longer. But the white ones, I had some that were white and they did not do good. They were like this tall. I I couldn't sell them. They were so short. But the rest of them did great. And then Decanon variety from ADR bulbs, it did great too. It was a lot of reds and purples in that one. So what was the secret to my success? I had no clue what I was doing. I was just following Florette's advice and doing my best to get it. Though last year I planted them in November. This year I will be planting them in January. The anemones I planted in November came up in January, way before I had anything else ready. So this year they're getting planted in January and hopefully will be blooming with my tulips and ranunculus that I may or may not have, and the daffodils and such, so I can mix them up better. They bloomed for a nice long time as well. They pretty much went until we mowed them down and they got overtaken by the weeds. I'm going to see how they do in the black fabric this year. They may do well. It may not. It's all a learning experience. All right, the last question you asked, you said, I'm married, I've got kids old enough to help with chores, the flower farming is my passion and side hustle. I'm sure everyone helps when asked. They're clearly wonderful. Do you feel like the farm is my solo project? Do I feel like the farm is my solo project? Kinda. The farm is kind of my baby. The kids are forced to help sometimes with the weeding and with bringing in the buckets and harvesting. But for the most part, I have the kids help in the house. As in, they're cleaning the kitchen, they're helping keep up with the laundry and cleaning the house. My husband, he has a very labor-intensive job, so by the time he gets home, he's exhausted. So he's able to help me a lot more during the winter with some of the chores once his job kind of cools down a little bit. But yeah, the flower farm is my baby. It is my project. It's my pride and joy. I love being able to grow these flowers and know that I did it. I did it. It came from seed and it lives. It lives. And do you want to know the biggest secret that I have found as being a former plant killer? How you grow so many successful plants. Would you like me to tell you my secret? Let me take some coffee. This is going to blow your mind. My biggest secret to growing flowers successfully that I found so far is I start so many that when half of them die, people only see the other half that are still alive and they think I'm doing a great job. So there you go. I'm still a plant killer. I'm still a major plant killer, but I'm just growing enough to keep it going, and nobody notices the dead plants over there in the corner that we just don't speak about. We just talk about the plants that lived, right? All right, the last question that I've got before I get to the live chats, questions that you'll have. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me put this on Do Not Disturb. I'm sorry if that was loud. I've been good about remembering to not have that on or notifications won't come through. A seed sower family farm. You asked, you said, I'm planning on cool flower planting this fall. When is the right time with it still being 90-degree weather here in Zone 8B? I'm thinking mid-October. Thanks for all you do. So, seed sower family farm, you are correct. About mid-October to early November is what I would say. Ideally, it really depends on what you're getting in the ground. If you are seed starting, you really want to have that actually started in August. So the seeds are more mature. Not seeds, the transplants are more mature to go in the ground in about October-ish. It is hot. We are in the high 90s this week. It's supposed to get back in the lower 80s next week, but we're still at that time of year where we're getting really too hot, but not, and you're scared about the seedlings dying from the heat. Completely understand. From my understanding, and I could be completely wrong here, it's not so much about the temperatures for where we're at. It's about getting them in before the hard frost hits, so if they've got enough root growth but it's also about sunlight. We want only so many hours of light during the day so that the plant doesn't grow a certain way. So when we're planting these seeds and these seedlings, we're going to have a lot of foliage come up, but they're going to kind of stay small. Your transplants, your fall transplants and seeds that you're starting now, if they germinate, are going to stay small. Small little itty bitty plants are not going to grow that much because all their growth is going down in the roots. Personally, I was planting as late as January for these cool flowers. Mid-October, if you can get things in the ground by mid-October, including seed started by mid-October, you'll be doing great. For Nigeria, for instance, if I was pushing it to December, I would just put a floating frost cloth over it to help get it warm enough for that seed to germinate and to protect it while it put in the roots. So if you can get the seed started now and have transplants to go in October, put a floating cover over it if you're nervous so that those roots do have a good chance to kind of get in there. But only do that floating row cover if we're getting cold, like 40 and lower. Otherwise, your plant's going to be too warm. It's going to be diseased and all sorts of stuff. All right, so let me look at these Colorado tulips. I'm so glad I can make you feel a little bit better. All right, AEMZ mom, would you consider wearing gloves since spiders hide in the dark spaces where you reach and harvest? Yes, I do wear gloves sometimes. I get frustrated with the way they feel sometimes, but I'm trying to be better. No, don't disappear. I'm trying to be better with wearing gloves. So yes, I do try to wear gloves. Nicole's Garden, sometimes the video stutters and it might be my internet. Yeah, I think it's me. I don't think it's you. Because I've got like the live count where I can see I've got people. It's dropping sometimes to like 15 and then back up to 30. Not sure what's going on there. AEMZ, you said the black widow I encountered scared you. Yeah, girl, it scared me too. I did not want to put my hands in there. Hey, seed sower, glad to have you here. It's skipping. It's probably the internet. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not sure what's going on with my Wi-Fi this week. Hornets and wasps actually do a lot of pollination, and they eat a lot of the bad bugs too. Thank you, John Roebuck. Colorado tulips, you're seeing the same thing. You're in the car. I'm so sorry, guys, that I'm having issues. Okay, I think that's all the comments that I had. Let me go back up. Are you thinking of working part-time instead of going full-time and focus more on flower farming and YouTube? I would love to do that. Financially, that's just not going to happen anytime soon. Maybe in the next 5 years, I would be able... Sorry, I'm trying to keep the comments from disappearing on me. I'm going to bring you a little closer. I would love to do that. I don't see that being in the cards anytime soon. I really wish it was, but if I could stay home and just do flower farming and YouTube, I totally would. Is it hard to get classified as a farm? No, it wasn't very difficult. Contact your Ag Extension office and they should be able to help you with it. Where can you get good bugs? The good bugs, Renee? I order my good bugs from Amazon, or Arbico Organics is also a great place to order good bugs. Cherie, welcome from New England. Glad to have you here. Okay, I think that's all the questions I see in the chat. Oh, here we go. Here we go. We got some more coming. Seed Sour Family Farm. When do you plant dahlias? I planted those in the spring. I actually went as late as April and May planting them. You can overwinter them in zone 8B if you mulch them really good, but I'm digging mine up so that I can move them. They were in such a hot location, they do not need full sun in my zone, so I've got to move them. But April, Mayish, as soon as it's not like freezing cold, you can plant dahlias here. When did you see those did you see the pumpkins on the sticks? eggplants, LMZ is growing. They are so cool. I've seen the pumpkins on the sticks, John. I agree. I think they're really cool. I don't know what I would use them in. Those are one of the things that just because I can, really shouldn't. But yes, they are very, very tempting. I'm so sorry, guys, that the internet connection is bad this time. It's been so good for so long, but the past week, it's been kind of iffy. And I don't know, maybe so many people are on the internet, it's taking it up more. I was really hoping that I had a really good connection so that everything would show up like it's supposed to. I think I've gotten all y'all's questions. Y'all have any more for me? Let me tell y'all about Monday's video that's coming up while y'all type. So Monday's video is about my roadside stand experiment and how well that went. Who bought my flowers? Who didn't buy my flowers? That is what Monday's video is going to be about, and that comes out tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it's going to be part of a series I'm working on, which is selling flowers and how to sell more flowers, things like that. You can usually plant anemones and ranunculus in October, and they do well. Elizabeth, thank you. What zone are you in, Elizabeth? Because I know ranunculus I can plant in October, and they do great. And anemones did great, but they just bloomed way too early for me with where I had them at. It was my issue. So I'm interested to see what zone you're in. But some of the videos that I'm working on is the roadside stand experiment, which will then have a follow-up video on what went wrong and what went right, so that when you get ready to open up your roadside stand, you do better and you have all the tools you need. I'm working on the customer service, how to smile, pitch, how to be more approachable so that customers feel the need to come and buy flowers from you. How I set up my farmer's market stand, things like that. I'm working videos on to bring to you more informational side, while also working on the, hey, this is what's going on. Yesterday, I worked in a hoop house. You're growing yours in a hoop house. We are too hot to really grow ours in a hoop house successfully. Hi, high grade vlog. Glad to have you here. Glad to have you here. I was pulling weeds yesterday, trying to get these holes exposed. With the landscape fabric, I didn't think the weeds would be as bad. They're still just so bad. I woke up this morning and my whole body just hurt from pulling weeds. But my sweet William, y'all, my sweet William is looking so good. It's ready to go in the ground. I'm kind of like you. It's so hot here right now, seed sower, that I'm kind of scared to put them in the black fabric because I'm scared it's going to be too hot and it's going to just zap the life out of my sweet Williams. Everything else is doing great. I need to start stock. I'm going to be starting stock soon. And let's see. I need to clear an area where I can put Dara and Amy. Those are best direct sown, apparently. So I need to do that. Still haven't tackled the sunflower field area. There's just thorns everywhere. But we're getting to it. We're getting to it. I'll get to it in my own sweet time. But y'all, you know who's been showing out lately? Michaela Miranda Dahlia. She is just showing out and looking so beautiful right now. And I guess it's because we've had cooler temps than normal that she's able to do what she wants to do. I'm just trying to keep an eye on these comments to make sure that they don't disappear again on me. I don't know why it does that. I would love to be able to do the lives continuously here and not have to go somewhere. Yes, Seed Sower Family Farm, I am starting seeds inside. So I took over my family den. We have a den in the back of the house with a beautiful fireplace, and that was my special room that I would sit and read in. I bought just for that room to do it all in like a woodland Christmas theme. And now it is my plant room. I have seed starting shelves, seed stuff everywhere. There's dirt everywhere. Plants everywhere, guys. I own like 5 house plants now. Y'all would be so proud. Look. This is a house plant that I called off another plant and propagated. I did this all on my own. I am so proud of myself. But yes, I start all the seeds indoors in the air conditioning. I don't start them outside. I do not have a hot house or a greenhouse or a hoop house. Everything is field grown. Everything is done in the house. If I've got a lot of seeds I'm starting, I'll just sit in the living room and make a huge mess. You're building a plant room in the basement right now. That is exciting, Nicole. It's almost full of dried flowers at the moment. That is so exciting. I'm excited for you, Nicole. We don't have a basement. We're in a double wide. But one day, I'm going to get Yoder built homes to sponsor me, and they're going to build me a greenhouse one day. I hope. That would be great to have my den back instead of growing all these plants in the back room. It's a total disaster back there right now. And I haven't even taken up all the shelf space yet. I need to start more seeds. I gotta start more seeds. I'm pretty excited though. The Canterbury bells are actually doing really well. They're going to delphiniums. I've got to give y'all a seed update. I need to give y'all a seed update so y'all can see how far we've come. Your dining room, hey, you know, it works. You do your seeds wherever you can to make it work. When I first decided that I was going to grow flowers, I had seeds in my dining room and I tried the window method. I heard real quick, you can't do the window method. It's a lie. Do not expect your seeds to grow in front of a window. But ended up getting plant lights and growing, and then bought the shelf the year after. And I love my grow lights and my grow shelf. You know, it's easy. I found out it's easy for the most part to get seeds germinated. It's easy to take care of plants when they're in the ground. It is not easy. John, I soil, seed starting soil rather for seed starting. Not yet. Anybody want to sponsor me? I can have a preferred brand for seed starting. I mostly am just looking for seed starting mix that's specifically for starting seeds. Lately I've been using a pro mix that's like anti-fungicide to help with that. Hi from Spain, glad to have you here. And then I love your pug. I'm a flower killer too. As my brown moms will witness too. Yeah, girl, I've killed so many moms. I'm glad you love my pug. Gus is the best. Would love a video on my seed starting, heat mats, lights. I will work on getting another video on seed starting and what my setup is. I bought a heat mat. I don't use a heat mat. We literally stay warm enough all year that I don't need a heat mat inside the house, though I have one. Otherwise, it's just lights. And then it actually got so warm in that back den, that's when I lost all my ranunculus. If you haven't seen that video, go search through my channel and find Attack of the Mold. How not to grow ranunculus. Been there, done that. Oh, that was so bad. That was so bad. I lost so many ranunculus that way because it was so warm back there. You just ordered some seed starting mix too. Good. Yeah, I've been using the Pro Mix. I've learned this year, FYI, if you're buying the seed mix in bulk, you need a place to store that seed mix where it is sheltered from Pest. Don't leave it outside like I did. It gets wet and then bugs live in there. I know, it was so sad, Colorado Tulips. And Colorado Tulips, thank you for the Amazon gift cards. My plug trays are with the $25 gift cards that you sent. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. They came in Friday and I was like, yay, new gloves and plug trays. They're going to be perfect for starting stock in. I'm so excited. But yeah, I learned with my Pro Mix, I left one open underneath the carport where we keep our camper. It got wet, so I had mold, white mold all in there. And then last year, my fungus gnat issue, I wasn't storing my dirt right. Yeah, keep it inside. If you leave it inside, you're less likely to have bad dirt. Learned that the hard way. Oh my goodness. I knew Pepper Harrow Farm had talked about storage of your dirt. Can you stop moving my stand, Costly? But whether you can stop moving my camera, Costly. Dirt is not just dirt. You have to keep it fixed somewhere where it's climate controlled, won't get wet, and rats and things can't make their nest in it, and flies can't find it. I don't believe in zones, which do not exist in Europe. First frost date and last frost date. We usually don't get a frost before November, but this year we had it last week. That is crazy. We normally get a frost sometime in November, sometimes late November, and even then we'll have a frost and it still won't get cold, like cold until January. Yeah, I love Pepper Harrow Farm too. They have such great information as well. Yeah, after that tornado hit, that was horrible for them. No fall planting this year for you. See, that's kind of the great thing though about you not, if you wanted to, you probably could just put some row covers over to help the heat, maybe. Yeah, zones are mostly important just for knowing what can overwinter. And even then, within the zones are microclimates. I think Nicole at Flower Hill Farm says it best. She is part of a microclimate up there on her hill. And it's learning what can you grow with what you got. And get your soil tested. You can't rely on it gets that cold. Yeah, when we get cold, we normally don't dip below 20s here, if ever. Of course, the first year I actively flower farmed, we had snow not once but twice, which is unheard of in Louisiana. We actually had what we call the snow apocalypse, which I've got that on the channel as well, where we were completely covered and we were stuck. We were stuck in our houses for a week because we didn't know how the roads were just horrendous. You couldn't drive on them. We don't have, chain on our tires or anything like that. And then last year, it was warm. We stayed so warm all year. So it'll be interesting this year. Are we going to have winter? If we do have winter, is it going to be our normal winter? Or is it going to be snow apocalypse again? Or is it going to be hot? I'm ready for cool weather. Plus, I'm tired of going outside and we're trying to pull these weeds and sweating so much. Oh my gosh, 10 feet of snow. That is crazy, Nicole. Yeah, I think we ended up with like 10 inches. Was it maybe it's 6 inches? I don't remember. But it was like record breaking and it was bad. Texas had it worse than we did. Oh, they're germinating. That's exciting. Oh, see, I find outdoor sowing intimidating. You find indoor sowing intimidating. But that's exciting. Yeah, you just got to experiment, Colorado tulips. You definitely get snow where you are. So with that, you would, if you haven't checked out the Gardener's Workshop with Lisa Mason Ziegler, that's going to be very helpful for you. Because if you're going to attempt to overwinter them, she says, if it's going to snow, you need to uncover your rows. Because that snow is going to act as an insulator versus it collapsing the frost cloth collapsing onto your seedlings and then smothering them and killing them. The snow would actually surround them and keep them nice and toasty. Which, through our snowstorms, I kept everything covered because I thought we were just getting a little bit of snow. I didn't think it'd be bad. Plus, anytime there's snow in the forecast, it's like you might see a flurry, if anything, and it was a blizzard. Do you worry about hurricane damage insurance? Okay, so I'm at the top part of the state. I'm in the middle central north Louisiana. I'm between Shreveport and Monroe, which are two major cities. And we don't really get hurricanes up here. By the time it makes it to us, it's a tropical depression, which means some damaging winds, but nothing too bad. Just a whole lot of rain. Except for Laura. Hurricane Laura was the first Category 1 hurricane I have ever lived through or ever want to live through. Hurricane Laura hit Louisiana so hard that by the time it got up here, it did not turn into a tropical depression. It was still a Category 1 hurricane. And I mean, there were no plants left. They were all laid on the ground. There was no saving them whatsoever. Our house stayed, thank goodness. We only had one piece of siding lost, and then this, what's it called, the skirting of our house is nailed down into the foundation, and it bellowed the skirting out from underneath the house. There were trees down everywhere. It was horrible. But for the most part, we don't get hurricanes here, so I don't have really any hurricane insurance because that's very abnormal. We've never had a Category 1 hurricane hit us up here, ever. Hurricane Fiona hit us this last weekend. Oh my goodness. I'm glad y'all were okay that y'all were okay. I'm sorry about their house, but I'm glad y'all are okay. Yeah, hurricanes are very scary. We were out of power for a week in August. It was horrible. Cat 2 when it hit, my goodness. Yeah, I don't ever want to live through a hurricane again. That was scary. We get tornadoes, but that hurricane, being able to see the trees just bend like they do. Oh my goodness, we had to go live with my parents for a week because the damage was just so bad here. And it's August. It was hot. Oh my gosh, it was hot. And it was my daughter's birthday. I think she was turning 11 that year. And we told her, please don't invite Laura to any more birthday parties, which kind of made her upset. If y'all have any other questions, I've really enjoyed hanging out with y'all this afternoon and answering all of your questions that you have. I hope I answered all of them. Like I said, I'm not an expert, just a girl here learning as I go, and glad to offer experience with what I have learned. And I love just chatting with you guys. It's always been so much fun. I think we'll definitely keep up doing the lives every 2 weeks. I feel like that's more realistic than trying to do it every single week. For me anyway, just a little bit easier. Especially when I look out at that farm and I just see weeds. Looking to see if I got any more questions or anything else pop up in the comments. I know it takes a minute between here and there. Hopefully next week's internet connection, or week after next live, internet connection's way better. Once again, mugs, t-shirts, they're all available. There's a link down in the description below for merchandise. And then there's also a link on my YouTube channel now where you can shop. And any item that sells off that website, I get like $5 towards the farm. So just FYI. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Thank you, Nicole and AEMZ, Mom. Thank y'all. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. And I enjoyed talking to y'all. I'll see y'all later. Bye.